All right, my name is Chloe McCormick, and I'm interviewing Theodore Holmes on November 17th, 2023. Can you start by telling me a little bit about your earliest memories of the library?
My earliest memories of the library, I would say, would go back to, let's say, 1964. In 1964, I was a student at the Moore Street section of Carver Elementary. Uh, Lyndon Johnson had been elected president, after Kennedy assassination, the '64 election. And I think it's 64, maybe 65, I think the bill had been passed to integrate various, and my teacher, Mrs. Johnson, addressed the classroom one day saying that they had now the movie theaters on Broad Street are no longer segregated, so y'all go down there and go to those movies. Okay, so I didn't do that. I didn't do that for maybe a year or two,
Okay.
because our comfort zone was in our own community, Jackson Ward and such. We had the Booker T Theater and Hippodrome. Okay, but I always would look at this building and the library. So one day, I think I was 14, 15 years old. I walked into the library, this library here, the old library was before this, the recent section, because it's been rebuilt.
Mhm.
So at that point in time, there were, they had like tables from front to back, and seats and all that. And that particular day when I walked in, there were like all these tables were full. Every table was full on both sides, and it's just odd. It's one of those moments when I walked in, a little black boy walked in, and everybody was sitting at the tables. Of course, they were all white, and every single person, all from front to back, stopped what they were doing and just turned and looked at me. Like, I'm going like, whoa, what? So I found myself a little corner, and I actually, my thing was, there were bound volumes of Life magazine, and I had always wanted to be a photographer. So when I found those bound volumes of Life magazine, that was my go-to from then on. So I found myself a little corner, and I just, but that was my first experience coming to this library. Now, fast forward to 1999, after I had ended employment at the Federal Reserve Bank, I was up in the arts and photography section, which that became my home, more or less, because all the photography books and all the art books were there, and I was always in there, doing stuff, reading books, finding the books, reading about the photographers, artists. And there was a librarian by the name of Helen Altman, and so we started a conversation. I told her I was a photographer, or I wanted to be a photographer. So she said, well, you should have an exhibition here. And to her, I said, well, no, I don't think I'm good enough to do anything like that, because I haven't taken pictures since I got out of high school, which was from Maggie Walker, class of '71. And this was '99, but I've been photographing, but I had never really showed anybody the work. So she said, well, bring some of the work by and let me take a look. So I did that, and when I did that, I think it was maybe a couple of days later, when she said, oh yeah, you need to have an exhibition here. So I had an exhibition here, and because of that encouragement, it started actually me exhibiting in Richmond, you know, and I became a member of Art Space, Broad Street, and exhibit, and I exhibited at Black History Museum. But Helen was, she was key because of her belief in me and the way she pushed me. It was just wonderful. And another, Lynn was another librarian here, and she encouraged me too, because at one point in time, I think it was 1980, 85, 86, I think. I had a little booklet called Cambria, and I had the whole issue was devoted to my photography here in Richmond. Okay, so, and she looked at it and she said, that's this wonderful work. You know, maybe can you give me a copy and I'll see if it can be put in the library. So eventually, I don't think it was put in the library, but she just, again, the librarians at the Richmond Public Library, those two librarians were just wonderful to me, and they buffered me up, they pushed me, they encouraged me. So that's my story.
What kinds of things were you photographing in those early days?
I started photographing architecture, buildings, but I would photograph people to street photography. You know, that's what I started. I was when I graduated from high school, I started working at Philip Morris, and then I could afford a real camera, a single lens reflex. But you know, so after work, I would go out and, you know, that was the old 20th Street factory, which is now the condo, 20th and Main Street. And at that time, it was just, you know, factories, not a lot of residential areas, not what it is today, no bars.
Yeah.
But so I would, you know, take my camera with me, and after work I would go right there and just photograph. Started photographing, of course, like I said, people, street photography, and architectural works, and that's what I started doing. And I mean, I'm still doing the street photography. I have an ongoing theme I call urban social landscape photography, which is people, groups of people in the urban landscape. And of course, I've been photographing Jackson Ward and the Jackson Ward cast iron work. I've done that for a number of years now, and I've actually gone to New Orleans and photographed that cast iron, because they have the highest deposit of cast iron architectural work.
It's beautiful down there.
Yeah, it is. We have the second highest in the nation. And yeah, so that's one of the things I do. And of course now I go to New York to photograph, because New York is just so fat with photographic opportunities. And I photograph DC and photograph the currents that, you know, when there are gatherings on the lawn, on a mall, I photograph those things. It's like the temperature of the nation, and now I do that. So that's what I do. That's what I still do.
Yeah.
So.
How many exhibitions would you say you've done at the library?
No, I only did that one.
Only one?
Just that one.
Okay.
Yeah, just that one. That was my first one, but that was my first one. And like I said, I'm so grateful for those two librarians.
Yeah.
They were really wonderful. They kind of like started me, you know. So.
Do you continue to visit or use the libraries today, or?
Most definitely.
Okay.
I'm here a lot. Yeah.
Is this the main branch that you go to?
This is the only branch I go to.
Okay.
I mean, where I live on Clay Street. It's like 2 or 3 blocks.
Yeah.
You know, but back in the day, of course, when I first started going to the library, I lived on Main Street. You know, it's not that long a walk, but I used to, I used to walk up to the library, you know. And actually, it's funny because I used to, when I stopped working I was working at Philip Morris. When I stopped working at Philip Morris, because my aim actually was going to go to, I did go to California. I wanted to be a filmmaker. So I went up to California for a while. Of course, that was during, I call the 04 recession. I couldn't really stay out of California, didn't make it. So I came back to Richmond. But I wanted to be a filmmaker, so I would stay at nights, attempting to write screenplays, and I'll be up all night. And then in the mornings, I would actually just, when the library opened, I would walk up and come to the library and study the film books that were here. So, I mean, yes, I've always, this library has been key to any success I would have. I'll say it that way, you know, and it's always been a part of me.
Yeah.
You know, so.
As a child, did you go to libraries?
Well, this is funny. This is a funny story. As a child, my mother who did day's work, which is, you know, she worked for white families. She worked hard. My mother sacrificed and bought me a set of encyclopedias. Okay. Now, at that time, we lived on Adams Street, and right around the corner was the Rosa Bowser Library. Mm-hmm. So I told my mother one day, I said, well, you know, Mom, I want to go to this library, Rosa the library around the corner, because I've never been in there. My mother said, like, she said, you're not going to that library. Anything you can learn from the encyclopedias. And I understood the sacrifice. I understood the sacrifice she made to buy me a complete set of encyclopedias. You know, so that was.
Did you ever end up going to the Bowser branch or no?
Well, when the Bowser branch became the Black History Museum, I worked at the Black History Museum.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's how you know Mary then.
Yeah. I know, that's how I know Mary. Yeah. But yeah, this was. That's funny. That building was.
And my last question for you is, what do you want to see for the future of Richmond Public Libraries?
Well, of course, inclusiveness. And it's such a, library is such a great thing for all people, but especially young people. Because I came here and I delved into all kinds of books and had all kinds of knowledge, not just the photography thing, that was my go-to, not the art thing, that was my go-to also. But I learned so many other things from other, I used to go into stacks and just, look at all art things from the stacks and everything, you know, it's just like, it's a wonderland. The library is a wonderland. And I hope that young people will take advantage of it.
Yeah. It's a great place to be.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much for sharing with me today.
Thank you.